Hey there, everybody. Back for another Secret of the Comic Shop. I'm here with Steve from Cyberspace Comics, and he was nice enough to come let us check out ComicBase, because we've done a couple of series on inventory management systems, and Steve is the king of inventory. He has so much and he has to keep track of it. And he uses this. He was gracious enough to let us come in and peek at it. ComicBase 2025.
Not a paid advertisement.
We're
not part of that company, and we're not getting paid to do this.
Not getting paid to do this at all. We're just going to be giving an overview of ComicBase and not exactly how and what Steve does with it. So it's just going to be how the program works and how he feels its advantages are. But also, more importantly, everybody find their Badger 69 and their back bins and their dollar bins in their collection somewhere, because we're gonna start doing a part on all of our videos. We're gonna start talking about comics we've read, and we're gonna BS about it. And if you've read it, then you can follow along. You can comment and let us know that we're jerks and don't know what we're talking about.
We just felt that, you know, we talk about the business aspect a lot, but really we're in this business because we love comic books. Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about it a little bit. The best part about it.
Me and Steve really do have in common that we really love business. When we go out, his wife is standing there, and all we're talking about, it's business. It's comics, but it's business. The business of comics. But we could be selling anything. We could do cars or any widget or whatever, and like the business part would still excite us. But we make it this job we can love because we love comics, and we get to, you know, pull stupid stuff like Badger 69 out of the back bins and, you know, read it. So stay around for come back next week and with having read Badger 69 and follow along and find out about it and what we thought of the book. So that's a new ongoing series. Hopefully you all like it, but more importantly, let's get to ComicBase 2025.
Yep. So when I saw his last video about Overstreet, I just wanted to show him what ComicBase does and the functionality of it before he started to jump on with one inventory system, because the best way to handle inventory is to know that the product is right for what you're doing. So to just jump into one is maybe not the best decision, so you kind of weigh some of the other options. So I'm just going to show you around ComicBase here a little bit.
One of the things I want to say about that, and I agree 100% with you, is that no matter how easy it is still, if you've got collections like a store collection, it's arduous. It's a task. It's a big task. If you choose a program, just choose one and you start using it, and it doesn't work for you, you've wasted a lot of time. I felt I put 6,000 comics into Hip Comics, and
talking about TCG.
No, I did Hip first.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved to TCG.
Yep.
Actually, you're right. Hip Comic, I think, was only 2,000 comics.
Okay.
You're right. It was TCG. I'd put 6,000 comics in, and then that didn't end up working out. So, you know, if I just had it in one system that I could then pull a copy of, right, then I could use whatever online.
Sometimes it also depends on what you're going for. So if you're trying to inventory and also try to sell through, you want to use something that has a sales tool hooked into it, which ComicBase does offer. They're partnered with Atomic Avenue. So anything that you put into their database can transfer over to Atomic Avenue as long as it's in their database and it's not necessarily an item that you added in. So there's that benefit, and that's been around for, you know, probably over maybe 2 decades now, maybe a decade and a half.
Right.
Whereas if you're doing something like a startup or TCG where they're like, oh, we're going to start selling comics. Yeah, you're in on the ground floor, but where is it going anywhere is the question. And in that case, they pulled the rug out from underneath them. So
thank you, eBay.
Yeah, so I
still love eBay.
Sometimes it's best to go with the tried and true, even if the tried and true isn't necessarily the best on the market,
right,
or the easiest,
right.
So let's show you around ComicBase here. I'm gonna go over a couple of things that I input. One thing I get in every week is new books. So to add this in, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in the title here into this find bar up here. And I start to type it in, you'll see that it starts to populate with Star Wars titles. And then we can narrow it down a little bit. And then we're looking at number 3. So we're going to scroll through here, find issue number 3.
All
And
Marvel
then,
and all
so
the-
many variants, right? Right click on here and download the cover. And then we can see that that book is this book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep, super easy to put in. I don't like to say that anything is near mint, but I will say that it is very fine to near mint. And then we're going to put in a quantity of 1. You can change it to 2, whatever you want to put in. It's all easily navigatable from the keyboard or with the mouse. I'm just tapping over or using arrows to go through this spreadsheet, basically, that it has right in here. This sale column right here means that I'm going to put it for sale on Atomic Avenue. Check that. And that's it. Just change the price to whatever you want it to be, putting in the cover price there. And that's it. It's in your database now.
Oh, that's fast.
It's in your inventory system. Now, if you wanted to do multiples, you could highlight all of these and right click and download their covers. I don't like to do that for books I don't have, because sometimes if it's a new book especially, they'll put in a preliminary photo that might not actually be what the photo looks like or the cover looks like in the long run. So for me, it's best to wait till I know that I have the book in hand. I can compare it to what they show up there.
But when you get a collection, if you put it all in order, then
Yes.
you've got a long run of some 80s book. You just go to that 80s book and highlight
sure.
all of them.
Right. So let's say I get in Avengers West Coast and I want to start running through, everything is here. You just type it in and you can easily navigate so quickly through all this stuff just using the keyboard.
Right.
You see how fast I can get through there. And then you can type into these boxes to change. So this is very good, but you can type into there to change it. See how fast it goes?
Wow. Yeah.
So it's
Now, can
really
I
useful.
add the multiple can I add one to everything?
Yeah, so, that's a good point. So let's say, okay, I got number 77 in VG, but, I'm going to change the price back. I want to duplicate it, and now I also have one in near mint, and it's $9.99. Now I have both of them there.
Right.
So yes, you can add in multiple columns. And then you could say, okay, this one is signed by, Roy Thomas. You could type that in here. Totally separate than the very
Now,
good
do
copy.
those notes transfer over to Electric Avenue?
So if you are sending this book to Atomic Avenue with this sale,
Yeah.
it will transfer over there, and it will have this notation added to your listing for that.
Yeah, just your listing. That's very cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna get rid of that because I don't actually have such a
Yeah.
book. All right, so that's new books.
New books are in.
And now a lot of my business, I'm just processing old series, and like Emmett said, the best thing to do is just have it all ready to go, so you can process that series at one time. So I have that. I'm working on Image right now. At O's, I'm processing Outpost 0. So I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, 4. And now I'm going to enter them into my database. So I'm just going to go up here, type in Outpost. We're looking for Outpost 0. I can see that I already have number 1 in stock here. The also thing about Atomic Avenue is you can select automatically that if the book is listed as near mint in your database, that it will list it as very fine to near mint automatically.
Oh, cool.
So it saves me a lot of time adjusting the condition because near mint is the default. So if that's what you want to do, you're welcome to do that. If you want to go through the laborious process of saying, well, this one is actually near mint and this one is VF and this one is VF to near mint, and separate all 3 of those, you can do that as well. There's just an option to toggle that on and off. It saves me time to just say VF to NM. I never want to describe anything as near mint to my customers because it just lends itself to a lot of potential problems.
You get some small thing happens in shipping, and it's still
even if it's not in shipping, but they found a little
dink.
Who knows what?
Yeah.
There's some very particular collectors out there that are probably better suited for shopping at a brick and mortar.
Right.
But they'll sometimes shop online and they get hung up on these details.
Now, can you put in your entire quantity and then only put one up for sale?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that works. There might be an option for that. It's not my business model. My business model is to only make one available at a time. Otherwise, if something spikes in price and heats up, they're going to snag them all for dirt cheap.
Right.
So Outpost 0, I'm looking here. I have a bunch.
Yeah.
And it hasn't sold my last copy hasn't sold, and I probably haven't.
Oh, it has. Does it have the date when you first
It does not,
listed it?
no. But I know that I haven't processed image in like years. So, $4.99 is not the right price for it. So now I get to reflect. I say I have a ton of copies. I want to move it, so let's drop it down quite a bit. Okay, and then the same thing with number 2 here, Outpost 0, number 2. I have a bunch of them. I'm gonna do the same thing, even lower. That was at $3.99. Let's go down to that. Let's go here. And then we have Outpost 0, number 4, but I don't have that in stock yet. I have never had it in stock. So I'm going to right-click, download the cover, make sure that I am looking at the same issue, which that's it. But now it's an older issue. It's a back issue. I don't know what the value is for it, right? So I like to determine the price based on what the current competition is. So let's look up that book. And then let's sort it by lowest. So there's 22 copies. Let's do buy now only. 22 copies. Around $3.99 is the cheapest. My shipping is it's a whole calculation when you're trying to price it competitively. So I know that my shipping is lower than my comic shops, so I can set the price of the book a little bit higher. I know my price is going to probably try to undercut this guy.
Right.
So a whole bunch of different and then the other consideration is how many do I have on hand, and do I want to keep a bunch on hand?
Right.
To always have a decent selection, so I don't want to price it at $1 because I only have a few, whereas a ton of number 1 and 2.
Right.
So it's a juggling game it's a balancing game. You know, where do I want to price this?
Do you also check the solds to see what the sell-through is on this? If anything, any of them were selling even?
I don't, because when there's a ton available on the market already and they're all similarly priced, I know where the pocket is.
Right.
I don't need to see what it's been selling for because I know what, if you want to buy this book, I know where you're going to have to be. Right?
Okay.
So if it's a book that there's 2 copies of and they're wildly different in grades, yeah, let's see what else has already been selling.
Right.
But in a case like this where there's 22 results, it's pretty obvious where I should be pricing this book. So I'll come in here, type in the quantity and the price, mark it for sale, and then we're done.
That's fast.
Now, like Emmett's saying, if you're doing something like Avengers West Coast and you're doing 30, 40 issues in the stack, you can burn through that stack so quickly. Tabbing over, using the keyboard to get across, or even using the mouse, whatever you're comfortable with. Now, from time to time, we'll get in comics that we don't know what they are.
Virgin book?
Virgin cover, we don't know what this is. I mean, I'm sure Emmett knows who these characters are, but if you're a dealer, and especially if you're just starting out in this business, you don't know everybody. You want to guess what book this is?
I know what it is.
You do, okay.
But I won't cheat.
So these guys are an indicator for me. It's a Mars Attacks.
Yeah, I know it's got to be a Mars Attacks book, but I know who that is in the middle. I don't like the rendition of him.
Yeah, it's not.
I like the 70s Marvel version of him better.
Even on the back, it's just an advertisement, so we don't know what this book is. They have a handy dandy scanner that works with this program, and it takes me right to what the book is. Warlord of Mars Attacks 1G, which is the version cover by Dave Johnson. It's this is my own notes. I added this attribute field. This does not come with the database. You can make your own fields in this database, so all this stuff is customizable to whatever your business is or whatever your collecting needs are.
That's a smart, because keeping track of the 1 in 10, 1 in 7, 1 in 5, 1 in is just...
It's tough, and Dynamite recently has been doing a good job on the interior noting what that is, but not every company does that. So
Nick Barucci's has a lot of great little innovations, tiny things that are great for retailers. But no matter where you're selling them, in the store or in online, a lot of little great innovations through Dynamite.
Yeah, even the fact that he wrote incentive cover on the barcode here lets dealers know, okay, well this
is definitely a 1 in something.
Yeah.
It's a ratio.
So how great is it to be able to just find out what this book is.
Yeah.
Without having to.
Well, speaking of that, the one that he put an incentive code. Boom puts unlockable variant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you know that like so many people don't know that's one per store?
One per store. Yeah, maybe it could be used as a different name, a better terminology for it.
One per store.
Yeah. There you go. So the other way to do it, if you don't buy the scanner, is you can go up here to this series name or barcode find field, and you can just type in. Here, let me get off of this here. And I can just type the barcode in if you don't have the scanner.
Oh, you're shitting me.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Oh, it starts with a 7. And it'll take me right to the book as well. So you don't need the scanner. It just saves a little bit of time if you're scanning a lot of books.
But if you have a POS system, you have a scanner.
Right. Yeah. So
you have it.
The ease to get to that book. And you could do it with a book. You know what it is. If you don't want to have to type up in here, you just scan the barcode and you get right to that title. It opens right up to there. Now, the only
I would
problem...
be doing a lot of scanning. I would be Joe Scanner. 100%.
The only problem, okay, is that the UPC codes are not always
for some companies
well done.
Are really poorly done.
So, for example, we have Masters of the Universe here. 2 different covers, but if we compare the barcode, they are exactly the same. So that's a problem. But going forward, most companies are trying to utilize separate UPCs for different books. Unfortunately, Skybound recently did some series where they have different word balloons here, and they all use the same barcode. But we know collectors have preferences, and they're going to want different covers potentially.
So what happens with this?
So it's just going to take you. So when you put in a barcode through the scanner or through typing that has multiple things, it's going to bring both up, and it'll just ask you which one you want. So let me type it in. And then we can see here, it's used by 1A, 1B, and 1C. But still takes us to the right title.
To the right title, yeah.
It's just, it doesn't know, because there's multiple of the same here.
So if you select, it'll select the one that's blue highlighted, or will it select the whole list?
Yeah, so whichever one, it's going to take me right to that. And now this, you see how this is in dark blue?
Yeah.
It's selected. If I had selected 1A, that 1A would have been.
But then now that you're here, you can move up and down.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so you can just add the other one once you're there.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter which one you pick. It's going to bring you to it's not going to just bring you to that single one. It's going to bring you to the series.
It's going to take you to the whole series, not just the one issue. Yep.
Well, I like that. I like that a lot.
Now we come to a problem. Right here, we're looking at Kiss Psycho Circus, but this is actually a second printing, as noted down here.
Shouldn't that be in the barcode?
What barcode?
No barcode.
No barcode. So we're going to type this in up here. Kiss Psycho. I can't spell psycho. Okay. And we see that there's no 2-second printing here. So I'm just going to right click on it, duplicate it. And over here, I'm going to say, this is a second printing. Now, they don't know what that looks like. They don't, because there's no image for it in their database. But I know that it looks exactly like number 2. So I'm going to right click on here, show the picture file. I'm just going to copy the image, rename it to 2-2. And now when I scroll a little bit, it populates.
Huh.
Okay. And so now we've created a whole second listing. We're going to write second printing here. And then I'm just going to tell them, hey, this comic exists, so we can do that. We're going to right click on here and submit new or corrected data.
Oh my God.
Okay. Now
that's the problem with almost every other system I've worked with. All the apps should have that. Of course, they're going to have a person checking it because, any Yahoo can send
Yes,
it
and
in.
they have a really attentive team that will add this in quickly for a future update. And it says, thanks for your help. Your data is, once it's reviewed, it will appear in the next update. So they're going to try to say, okay, is this guy just making stuff up or does it exist? I hope they trust me and will accept the information. So I'm going to hit OK. And then they're going to ask, do you want to send that image over to us? Sure, let's send it over. Make the database a little bit better. They're going to receive that. They're going to add this to the database, and then they're going to push that update to all the other users of this program.
So every user is capable of making it better.
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep, so let's add that in. Let's change the price a little bit on that. All right, and then if there's a whole series that doesn't exist, and this exists, I'm looking at Nightly News, but the Image First edition, they try to shoehorn some things together that maybe other dealers might try to separate, like myself. They have this listed as a second printing. It's not technically a second printing, it's a reprint, but it's not the second printing of this book.
Right.
So I'm gonna open up this picture file. I'm gonna create a whole new title, Image Firsts, the Nightly News. It's gonna ask me the publisher and the year it was published, which is 2011. There's other information here you can fill out if you'd like. Save. Number 1, save that. And now what I'm gonna do is since that was in a, so, all right, if you're adding a whole new series, you can begin to populate all this information right there. So like if you're dealing with a Kickstarter book that's not in their database, or an indie book that's not in their database, you can add all of it. You can add the picture, you can scan the picture in, and then you can send all that information to ComicBase, and they're gonna add that to a future update. They do appreciate it if you put the UPC code in, if it does exist, in its entirety, because comics utilize these last 5.
Last 5, 100%.
So they do really prefer to have a UPC.
Last 5 is probably the most important 5.
So what I'm gonna do in this case, since this already exists in their database, I just wanna move it over. So I'm gonna right click on here, transfer this item to a different series. I wanna find the series that I want. And now it's gone from here.
Oh, that's killer.
So if I type in Image First, the Nightly, okay, now I see it here. And I want to get rid of this one because that was just, it always starts with one issue when you create a series. Get rid of that. This one I'm going to modify because it's not a second printing. So I'm going to come over here and change this to a 1. And I'm going to say this is the Image First. I don't even need to say, it's a reprint. Save that, and now there's no picture, right? So I need to open the file in here, drag this over here, retitle it to 1. And then I'm just gonna go back and forth, and there it is.
It's pretty simple, especially once you know how to do it.
Yeah. This is a more, what I'm showing you is a bit more advanced. You're not gonna necessarily be needing to add things in right off the bat, but you can do it. And you can do it easily and quickly. It's a great system.
This is
you can
definitely
do
good
it as a collector. You can do it. You don't have to sell anything.
Right.
You can mark that not for sale or for sale. You don't even have to sign up for Atomic Avenue if you don't want. If you just want to use it as your collection database, or if you want to use it as your inventory for your store, you could do all of that through here. You could, but the added benefit is if you're doing it in store, like why not put it up for sale for the entire world?
Right.
And then just tell them, hey, you can find, here's my Atomic Avenue storefront URL, and they go right to there and see everything you have for sale.
What about the price range on something like this?
Oh,
is it attainable?
Right.
I mean, because
I think it's 150 for the. I think there is a free intro program that you can load a certain number into. If you want to buy the program, I think it's 150. If you want to buy the updates every year, it's an additional 150. Some collectors don't need new comics because they just have an old collection.
Right.
So they would just buy it once.
Right.
To get the updates are really handy when I have, especially for stores that are getting new books in every week, and a book like this comes into the store, it's nice to have this database automatically populated. I showed you that you can populate it yourself, but it is nice to have all the images load, all the information load.
So you can check for updates.
So right here, I'm going to check for updates every week.
But so they push them a certain day every week?
I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. It's going to analyze my database first to see what needs to be changed and if there needs to be an update or not.
So I'd say if you're a collector, the good reason...
Right there, new update, download it now, click yes. There's options in there for you to overwrite the data or to not overwrite the data. I choose to not overwrite the data because I like to fix some of the errors in the database as I go along. I'm not saying there's a ton of them, but I don't want the
It
work.
always happens.
Yeah, the work and time I put into updating it. If I push that update to them, I don't know how soon it's going to get updated by them.
Right.
Right. I do know that I've just changed it, so I'm just going to rely on my own.
On your own.
And just not push their overwriting change to mine. So to get the download, you just click yes, run through those options if you want to overwrite or not overwrite, and then it'll add everything new that just came out this week.
Fantastic. So what I was trying to get at as a collector is something I experienced when I first opened my store. I want to say it was, I'm 1,000% before they changed their name. There was Comic Longbox. Remember Longbox? It's a program about a little over 10 years ago, and I had put my whole collection on Longbox, and I didn't even think about it when I opened the store that I had it on there, and then I had a flood, and the insurance company said, "Hey, we need to see, and I just printed it out and sent it to them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And they accept. This would work exactly the same.
So up here they have reports, and you can run reports for all that you need.
And then you just you could actually save that file to somewhere off-site in your Google Docs, I'm not Google Docs, Google Drives, and so you could get it from anywhere. Your house burns down, your house floods.
Yep.
Depending on the size of your collection, you might want to have a writer. I mean, go back and watch our insurance. We had a thing on insurance, but if you're a store, this is pretty awesome.
I found it really handy. The updates are really nice.
I might have to bite the bullet and steal your screen. Your monitor.
Oh, you want my monitor too?
I want your monitor too.
The interface is so quick and easy, and when you're putting in multiple books from the same series, it's so easy to navigate. Which this whole business is all about time when you're logging all these things in. So
I'm going to need to figure out a space in the store, though. I can't do it up at the register anymore. I was doing it up at the register for a while, and it's just a nightmare.
Yeah, you need a space where you can pull a whole long box, have it right in front of you, and ready to go.
I did all those 6,000 books for TCG at the register.
Yeah.
That was a nightmare. So, I need to find a spot in the store where we can create so that I can do this.
Any other questions about it?
Gosh, it's so pretty straightforward.
I'm
sure there's some inside baseball stuff like you were showing, which was really, we really appreciate you going through and showing us the little, really neat little tricks that are in it.
Yeah.
And
it took me a long time to learn that.
But but just the basic stuff is pretty incredible.
The other nice thing is if you do start to sell on Atomic Avenue, there's a user base there that has want lists attached to all these books. And when you put your book for sale, they get a notification like, oh, Haven for Heroes at 34 Front Street, Port Jervis, has this book for sale. Here's the price. You can go and buy it right now. So that's the advantage of going with something that's tried and true and been around for a long time, is that there's all that user base built in already that you're able to jump on and take advantage of or capitalize on.
The only thing is that being in store like you do all online, is that the books that sell, like before I've had to separate all my online books have to be
right,
separate.
but now you can just scan it as it's selling at your counter.
Right.
Oh, I gotta change that to 0. It's gone. It's handy for that. Now, the only thing is when you're selling on Atomic Avenue, if you add a new book to the database, like I've just done, Image First, the nightly news, and I try to sell that, it's not going to be listed because I didn't push the change to them. They don't know it exists. And especially in an example like this where I moved a book of theirs to a new thing, they're not going to take that change. They want it to be where it already lives.
Right.
Okay, but if you're adding a new Kickstarter book, eventually they'll add that to that database, and it'll get added to Atomic Avenue.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just I'm a little speechless because it was pretty smooth, very fast, and we went through a stack of books in a second. Thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Again, open a comic shop.